Hello, my name is Konstantinos and I will be pitching today for a spot on your network for my new podcast series Leveling the Stage. A podcast that explores how we can build a fairer, more inclusive music industry in Scotland. It focuses on the challenges faced by musicians with disabilities, neurodivergence, and caring responsibilities. It also looks at practical ways we can level the stage to ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to create and succeed within the creative industries. Before I introduce my podcast, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. My full name is Konstantinos Pavlopoulos. I'm originally from Greece and I'm a music producer and composer specializing in cinematic sound and storytelling. I graduated with a 2:2 honors degree in contemporary and popular music from Newcastle University, and I'm also a classically trained pianist with experience in performance, recording, and composition. Alongside my production work, I teach piano and support young musicians as they develop their skills. Coming from Greece and now working within the UK's creative industry has given me a broader perspective on the challenges artists face, especially around access, inclusion, and representation. And that really inspires me to start a podcast that gives a voice to musicians who often face barriers and explores how we can break them down. So, Before developing my podcast, I began by looking at some of the key problems within Scotland's music industry that inspired this project. Firstly, people with disabilities and those who are neurodivergent often face real barriers when it comes to accessing creative spaces, performance venues, and professional opportunities. Parents and carers also face challenges. Balancing family life with the demands of creative work can be extremely difficult, especially when support systems are limited. Another issue is funding. Many artists struggle to access financial support because the application processes can be complex and highly competitive. Finally, creative careers are still too often viewed as just a hobby, which limits recognition, investment, and long term stability for musicians. These challenges all highlight why conversations around inclusion, access, and equality are so important, and they are exactly what my podcast aims to explore. So, after looking at the challenges, this slide focuses on what we can actually do to level the stage. Extra funding is one of the biggest needs. Many disabled and neurodivergent artists face financial barriers, so funding should be made more accessible with simpler application processes and better guidance. More support could mean mentoring, accessible venues, or just having someone to talk through opportunities with. Small changes that can make a big difference. Education and networking are also key. Programs like Live Music Now already do great work helping musicians with disabilities gain experience and connections, and more initiatives like that are needed. Work-life balance matters too. Parents and carers often miss out on gigs or opportunities. Offering childcare or flexible schedules could make the creative industry more inclusive. And finally, representation. We need to see more diverse artists in festivals, media, and leadership roles. Visibility helps normalize inclusion and inspire the next generation. Leveling the Stage is designed to raise awareness about inclusion and access in Scotland's music industry. It looks at how disability, neurodivergence, parenthood, and financial barriers affect creativity, and what we can do to build a fairer system for artists. The podcast uses real stories and examples like the Drake Music Project, Django Reinhardt, Luis Capaldi, Youth Music, Creative Scotland, and Live Music Now Scotland to show that creativity should be accessible to everyone. Overall, it aims to inspire change and highlight the importance of opportunity and equality in music to create a fairer, more inclusive music industry. My podcast is aimed at musicians, creatives, and industry professionals in Scotland interested in inclusion, diversity, and accessibility. My podcast will consist of 5 episodes exploring how we can level the stage to make Scotland's music industry more inclusive, fair, and creative for everyone. The first episode, Breaking Barriers, introduces the concept of inclusion and access in the Scottish music scene, asking what leveling the stage really means. The second episode, Disability and Neurodivergence, focuses on the experiences of artists who navigate creative spaces differently and shows how accessibility can drive innovation. Episode 3, Funding the Future, looks at how current funding systems often exclude certain groups and what changes could make opportunities more equitable. In episode 4, Parents and Carers in Music, I explore the challenges of balancing family life with creative careers and discuss ideas for better industry support. Episode 5, Creative and Inclusive Future, highlights how mentorship, inclusive training, and community programs can open up pathways for underrepresented musicians. This example really shows that disability doesn't eliminate it. January was a jazz guitarist who lost two fingers with his left hand at his age. Doctors thought he would never be a talented, but instead developed a using just two fingers. This time, moving as a pop became the foundation of modern jazz. I included this example in my podcast because it's powerful and adaptive mind, even under the most difficult circumstances. I chose this example because it shows that disability doesn't can actually be inspiring forms of expression. Here is a video of Jack Reinhardt playing La Bombe. And this same idea applies today. Many artists continue to face challenges but still find ways to express themselves. A great example of that is Luis Capaldi. Luis Capaldi lives with Tourette's, a mental condition. He's been very open about his experiences and the challenges he brings to performing live. During his Glastonbury performance, his tics became more noticeable, but instead of stopping, the audience sang with him, finishing the song together. My book, Inclusion shows exactly what inclusion looks like in real life. The power of empathy and community within music. It reminds us that disability doesn't limit creativity. Many industry and audiences want to even there on stage. Here is a video of Luis singing at Glastonbury, and as you can see, his fans come together and support him. While stories like Luis Capaldi show how inclusion can make a difference, the data tell us that there's still a long way to go. This chart from the Newegg Collective's 2021 report shows some of the key challenges faced by neurodivergent artists in Scotland's creative industries. Around 77% experience financial insecurity, while many also struggle with social difficulties and administrative tasks, things like applications, funding forms, and self promotion, which can be overwhelming. This highlights how the system itself can be a barrier. My podcast aims to raise awareness of these issues and start conversations about what practical support could help level the stage for neurodivergent and disabled musicians. Both Live Music Now Scotland and Drake Music Scotland play a key role in helping disabled and neurodivergent musicians access opportunities in the creative industries. Live Music Now Scotland's Pathway program provides mentoring, training, and paid performance opportunities, helping musicians with additional needs gain real industry experience. Drake Music Scotland focuses on accessible music making through technology, adapted instruments, and inclusive workshops that allow people of all abilities to create and perform. Together, these organizations show that leveling the stage really means removing physical and social barriers and creating equal opportunities for everyone to take part in Scotland's music scene. I think Scotland could build on this work by funding more initiatives like this so that every disabled musician has access to professional development and paid opportunities. Both Youth Music and Creative Scotland play a key role in supporting musicians through funding. Youth Music gives over £10 million every year to help young and emerging artists. Through their Next Gen Fund, they offer grants of up to around £3,000 with a short, simple application written in clear language. This makes it easier for new artists to apply without needing lots of experience. Creative Scotland distributes over £200 million across Scotland's arts and creative industries over the next 3 years. Their funding supports a wide range of artists and organizations, but the application process can be quite formal and time-consuming. I think Creative Scotland could take inspiration from youth music by simplifying the application forms and making the process easier to understand. Both organizations could also add a box on their funding forms where applicants can request support if they need it, such as phone or video assistance. They could even offer AI assistance or a live chat option for people who prefer typing instead of phone calls. Small changes like this would make the funding process more inclusive and accessible, helping more musicians to apply confidently, which is exactly what leveling the stage is all about. At the 2025 SMIA Summit, Claire Duffin suggested that offering free childcare for artists and managers could be an important way to help level the stage. Denise Allen also raised the idea of providing travel and accommodation grants for parents and carers so they can take part in performances and events without the extra financial pressure. PIPA, Parents and Carers in Performing Arts, is an organization that already supports parents and carers working in the creative industries. On their website, they explain that they are currently developing a new online hub which will give parents and carers access to resources, support, and a national network. Although PIPA doesn't currently offer free childcare or travel grants, I believe these are ideas they could include in the future. Offering this kind of support would make it easier for parents and carers to stay active in music and continue their careers, helping to truly level the stage. This graph I have included here highlights some of the key barriers faced by parents and carers working in the creative industries, using data from PIPA's Balancing Act reports from 2019 and 2024. As we can see, The number of people turning down work due to caring responsibilities has risen from 76 to 88%. 66% of those surveyed said they want to work more hours but can't because of their caring commitments, and half said their income doesn't meet their basic needs. These figures show that many parents and carers are still struggling to balance work and family life in the creative sector. This connects to my podcast topic because it shows why we need better support systems, such as childcare options, flexible work arrangements, and accessible funding to truly level the stage for everyone in the music and creative industries. For my competitor research, I looked at the BBC's Access All podcast, which shares stories about disability and inclusion in everyday life. This podcast does an excellent job of raising awareness and sharing real experiences, but it focuses more broadly on daily life rather than specifically on the creative industries. My podcast aims to build on that idea, combining discussions about accessibility and inclusion with topics like funding and support for parents, carers, and disabled musicians in Scotland. There aren't many podcasts that focus on these issues within Scotland's music scene, so my project would help fill that gap and start a wider conversation about leveling the stage. Leveling the stage is about making sure everyone has a fair chance to take part in music, whether that's through accessible funding, better support for parents and carers, or equal opportunities for disabled artists. Through my podcast, I want to highlight the people and organizations already making a difference and start a wider conversation about what still needs to change. By removing barriers and creating more inclusive systems, we don't just make the industry fairer, we make it stronger, more creative, and more representative of everyone who loves music. Thank you for listening and watching my presentation.